Hi everyone, Freshie here with another Lost Ark video. GLAIVIER has finally released and I wanted to do a continuation of my Ultimate PvE Guides video series that started off with the sharpshooter. In this video I will be going into details of GLAIVIER builds, engravings, playstyles and everything else that is important for the most optimal endgame setup. But before we get into all of that, I would like to quickly mention that my written GLAIVIER PvE and PvP guides have already been published on LostArkBuilds.com. And everything that you see in this video has also been written there in case you prefer reading while watching. You can also find my other written guides and builds of all the classes that I play, as well as guides from other experienced players in the curated section of the website. Links to guides and builds will be posted in the description. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy this type of content. It's free and you can always unsubscribe later if you dislike the content. I also stream daily on Twitch, so feel free to stop by for some live GLAIVIER action. Starting off with the Chaos Dungeon and Cube build. Chaos Dungeon and Cube are relatively easy content to clear, but regardless of that you should still have a proper build and know which skills to use. This build focuses heavily on AoE skills and doing AoE damage, and you achieve that by using your Moon Stance skills, while you will swap to Sun Stance only when you have to deal with the elite mobs and bosses. The most basic setup requires 264 skill points, but I will show you the most optimal endgame build that requires more skill points. I will hover over each skill so you can see the tripods, so feel free to pause the video if needed. In case you don't have the same amount of skill points as I do, and you are wondering which tripods and skills you can take out and which to prioritize, on screen there is a skill progression that you can also find in my GLAIVIER Chaos Dungeon guide if you follow the link in the description. Runes, engravings, cards, gems and combat stats don't really matter for Chaos Dungeon and cubes, as the content is very easy to clear and I will cover those more in detail when we get to the raid build. The main idea of this build is that you will want to group up as many mobs as possible and then simply alternate between AoE skills that deal most of the damage. Utilize killing elite mobs for cooldown refresh to make your clear faster and efficient. When it comes to raid build and playstyle, GLAIVIER has two very different class engravings that define that playstyle. The most used one, and in my opinion better class engraving, is Pinnacle, as it buffs up your stance swapping at stage 3 even more than just a regular identity. The amount of buffs you receive is absolutely massive, and the damage output simply cannot compare to the other class engraving that is called Control, as it locks you out of the swapping stances while just buffing the damage of your moon skills. I will quickly go over Control build and playstyle at the end of the video, so if you are interested in that build, you can skip ahead. To fully utilize Pinnacle class engraving, GLAIVIER focuses on using skills to gain identity meter, which has 3 stages. You will always want to swap stances when you have stage 3 identity meter to receive the highest bonuses. Swapping from Sun Stance to Moon Stance gives you increased attack speed, crit rate and pure damage increase for 20 seconds on all your moon skills. While swapping from Moon Stance into Sun Stance, you gain movement speed increase, massive critical damage increase and even higher pure damage increase for 11 seconds on all of your Sun skills. The build is focused on dealing a lot of damage in both stances while simultaneously farming the identity meter so you can swap stances on cooldown and always have one of the 2 bonuses active. Most basic setup requires 260 skill points, but again I will show you and focus on a more endgame build. On screen you can find the progression based on how many skill points you have which you can also find in my written guide linked in the description. Shackling Blue Dragon is your only and main debuff on target. It reduces crit resistance on the target by 18% for 6 seconds. It has a small AoE range, so make sure you are close to the target. It also does destruction damage, which is very useful on certain bosses. Half Moon Slash deals decent damage, stagger and destruction. It consumes 20% identity meter, so you will want to use it in the middle of your moon stance rotation. Raging Dragon Slash deals decent AoE damage and stagger while farming identity meter. Stampeding Slash is a low cooldown skill that is used as a filler skill to farm identity meter in case you miss one of the bigger skills, and also it can proc rune effects. Flash Kick is your default movement skill that helps you dodge attacks and reposition when needed. Vault is your counter skill that can also be used as a mobility skill. Wheel of Blades is another filler skill that is used to farm identity meter while providing stagger damage and proccing rune effect. Chain Slash is a movement skill that is only usable at level 4 with Swoop Tripod for extra 6 meter distance. Red Dragon's Horn is the highest damage dealing skill that has 100% critical chance with Spear of Destruction Tripod. Trust of Destruction is the second highest damage dealing skill that requires full charge and a good positioning to fully take advantage of Spear tipped Trust Tripod. Starfall Pounce is the third highest damage dealing skill that is used at the end of a main damage dealing rotation. Dragon Scale Defense is a defensive ability that allows you to absorb one attack and counter attack by striking back. Spiraling Spear does weak damage but has destruction. It is used in two different occasions. One, if you missed one of your 3 hard-hitting skills and you need to gain extra identity meter with a firepower control tripod, or if you need to break armor by using its destruction effect. Four-Headed Dragon is a fairly useless skill that does low damage and is only used if you miss your main 3 damage dealing skills and you need some extra identity meter before swapping stances. Yeon style spear technique Spear Meteor is the preferred awakening skill as it has much lower cast time and deals significant AoE damage, which makes it harder to miss. Combat stats are very important for this build to be at its full potential. Pinnacle Glaivier heavily relies on high specialization as it increases bonuses from swapping stances depending on how high your specialization is. With 1.2k specialization, these bonuses are almost tripled, and the identity meter gain will also benefit greatly from it as you will be able to swap stances more frequently. As a secondary stat, you are going for swiftness on a necklace for faster attacks, movement speed and slightly reduced cooldowns. Galewind increases casting speed of a skill and you will want to use it on 3 skills. These are Red Dragon's Horn, Raging Dragon Slash and Trust of Destruction, as these skills have a charge up time that you will want to reduce with the rune effect. Bleed on Stampeding Slash, as the skill has low cooldown and you can proc rune effect more often. Rage on Shackling Blue Dragon to proc the effect at the start of your rotation, which will benefit other skills that are used after it. Welt on Starfall Pounce, as you use the skill to close out the rotation in Sun Stance, and having Welt rune will give you enough identity meter to reach stage 3 and comfortably swap to Moon Stance to gain full bonuses. Glaivier is a class that benefits from Conviction and Judgment rune combo, especially if you put Conviction on Half Moon Slash and Judgment on Wheel of Blades. Both of those skills are used in a main Moon Stance rotation and have a high chance of proccing rune effects due to multiple hits that can trigger it. If you don't have Conviction plus Judgment rune combo, then good alternatives are Welt and Quick Recharge on either of them. Engravings are important for every class, so having good setup early will make your character much stronger. Most important engraving is your class engraving Pinnacle. It doubles the bonuses of your normal identity stance swap, which goes even higher depending on how much specialization you have. It is a preferred class engraving for many GLAIVIER players due to insane bonuses you get each time you swap stances. Adding Grudge plus Keen Blunt weapon combo will guarantee the absolute highest amount of damage output early on. Add-on endgame engravings can vary depending on each player and style, but the three most used ones that will grant you the highest damage output are Curse Doll, Increase Mass, and Raid Captain. For gems you can only equip 11 of them, so a good balance between damage gems and cooldown gems is always necessary. You are going for damage gems on the Red Dragon's Horn, Starfall Pounce, Thrust of Destruction, Raging Dragon Slash, Half Moon Slash, and Wheel of Blades or a Stampeding Slash. You wanna put cooldown gems on Red Dragon's Horn, Raging Dragon Slash, Thrust of Destruction, Half Moon Slash, and Shackling Blue Dragon. Cards are important but also time consuming, so getting the most optimal setup will take time. GLAIVIER, as every DPS class, uses Lost Wind Cliff set on a 12-piece Awakening for extra 7% crit chance with dark damage reduction for Legion raids. While the absolute best endgame card set is Light of Salvation on a 30-piece Awakening for Legion raids, as bosses are weak to holy damage and they do dark damage. Tripod levels are very important for each class. You can have maximum of 18 tripod levels stored on your gear, so I will quickly show you my tripod alert setup and which 18 tripods to prioritize, so pause the video if you need to. Gameplay wise, GLAIVIER is fairly simple to play, assuming you know boss mechanics and you don't get hit often. The whole playstyle is based on farming identity meter to stage 3 and swapping stances to reap the maximum benefits of the bonuses you gain. In Moon stance, you're focused on farming the identity meter while doing decent amount of damage, while swapping to Sun stance will be your main damage dealing combo. Keep in mind that you don't want to spam every skill in every rotation, as you need to manage your mana by only using the skills you need to fill up the identity meter to stage 3 and then swapping. The perfect skill rotation for GLAIVIER is heavily dependent on having high specialization. When you have max amount of specialization, in this case 1.8k specialization and 600 swiftness, this is how the perfect rotation looks like. This rotation requires high amounts of specialization, cooldown tripods on all the skills that are being used in the rotation, and high level of cooldown gems. You will always want to start in the Moon stance and start with the Shackling Blue Dragon to apply crit resistance debuff. You follow up with the Raging Dragon Slash for massive amounts of identity gauge. You go into Half Moon Slash for more damage and more identity gauge. Then you finish off with Wheel of Blades. At this moment, you'll want to use Flash Kick backwards, and as soon as you hit on your feet, you want to swap stances. This will put you at the perfect distance to use Thrust of Destruction and utilize the Spear Tip Thrust to the full potential. After that, you go into Red Dragon's Horn. We are using the weak point detection, so you don't need to hit with the spear tip for the maximum damage. And then you're ending with the Starfall Pounce, with the Wealth rune is gonna fully fill up the identity meter. After that you are swapping stances, and if you have high enough swiftness, you have tripod cooldowns on your skills, and you have high level cooldown gems. These 4 skills should be off the cooldown, and you can repeat the same rotation in the moon stance to fill up your identity gauge, and then swap to sun stance, and then repeat the same thing in sun stance. But what happens if you don't have that high specialization and you don't have high level cooldown gems or cooldown tripods? Well, in that case, the rotation is a little bit different. Again, you're opening up with the Shackling Blue Dragon, followed up by a Raging Dragon Slash, into a Half Moon Slash, into a Wheel of Blades, but this is not gonna fill up your identity meter, so you're gonna want to use Volt and Chain Slash, and then using your Flash Kick to dash away and swap stances into Thrust of Destruction, Raging Dragon's Horn, and Starfall Pounce. This is gonna fill up your meter, but when you swap the stances, the cooldowns of these skills are not going to be up. So you will want to stand in the Sun stance for 5 more seconds, using the other skills like Spiraling Spear and Four-Headed Dragon to make up for the lost time until these skills come off the cooldown. To show off the rotation fully, this is how it looks like. Because you don't have cooldown gems on any of these skills, the cooldowns are a little bit staggered, and this is going to be the main thing that you want to focus on. High specialization, cooldown gems, and cooldown tripods on your skills. As promised, I will also quickly go over everything for control class engraving build, but as I firmly believe you should be playing the Pinnacle engraving due to insane amount of damage you can deal, and me being unexperienced with control build, I will not focus on details and just quickly show you everything you will need to pull off the control build playstyle. 296 skill points will be your starting point for this build to properly work, and on the screen I will hover over each skill and show each tripod, so pause the video if you need. For combat stats, you will need high swiftness as a main stat and critical on a necklace as a secondary stat. Runes are as follows: Galewind on Chain Slash, Stampeding Slash and Flash Kick, Conviction plus Judgment combo on Half Moon Slash and Raging Dragon Slash, Quick Recharge on Shackling Blue Dragon and Volt, and Bleed on Wind Splitter. Starter engravings are as follows: Control as a class engraving and Ambush Master plus Adrenaline combo for back attack damage and increased crit rate. Add-on endgame engravings are Grudge, Curse Doll, Raid Captain and Keen Blunt Weapon. For the attack gems, you are going for Chain Slash, Flash Kick, Half Moon Slash, Raging Dragon Slash, Stampeding Slash and Wind Splitter. And for cooldown gems, you're going for Chain Slash, Half Moon Slash, Raging Dragon Slash, Stampeding Slash and Shackling Blue Dragon. Card set is the same as with Pinnacle and every other DPS class. Lost Wind Cliff set early on for extra crit chance and Light of Salvation for endgame Legion Raid set. As a control glaivier, you don't need to focus on swapping stances as you only use moon stance skills to deal damage. Your main skill rotation is as follows: Close the gap to your target with Flash Kick. Make sure you position yourself to the back of the boss to benefit from the 10% crit rate increase and back attack skills. Start with the Shackling Blue Dragon into Half Moon Slash, Chain Slash whenever it is available, into Stampeding Slash, following up with another Shackling Blue Dragon when it's off the cooldown, into Chain Slash, into Raging Dragon Slash, and ending up with the Wind Splitter. The rotation is very spammy and repetitive, especially when you get more swiftness and higher level tripods and gems for cooldown reduction. Mana issues become problem with this playstyle, so always pay attention to your Conviction plus Judgment rune effect combo to trigger mana regen effect and cooldown reduction. And this concludes the GLAIVIER PVE guide. All of the information and details about everything mentioned in the video can be found on lostarkbuilds.com as part of my written guide. Hopefully this helps you understand the class and makes your PvE experience enjoyable. If you have any questions or concerns, let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.